gonna get the last "you can't see me."
Okay, well, what'd you make of all that, man? What were your thoughts on all that? The back and forth, all the drama.
I thought it was just two competitors going at it. I mean, I thought that Reese was a little excessive with it, to be perfectly honest, as far as following her around, on the court. Caitlin Clark did an excellent job of ignoring it, not getting back at her. But, that's what, Caitlin Clark does. She understands that, listen, if you go and give it, you got to be able to take it. And she took it, like, like a professional, like some NBA players or some WNBA players, some NFL players, are not able to do that. Because I know if you did that to me and we're losing in a national championship game, there's going to be a lot more than words being, thrown around, to be honest with you. But yeah, I thought she was a little excessive with it. But I get where she's coming from. If Caitlin Clark didn't do that. I mean, she didn't make it excessive like that. She did it. Caitlin Clark is Caitlin Clark. She's the baddest one in the land. I don't care what anyone says. Yeah, but I get it. I get it. I'm just tired of people making this a black and white thing. It's definitely not a black and white thing. It's two competitors going at it. It's a competitor versus a competitor. And both of them come out and say, listen, there's no beef. There's no beef. It's just the media trying to, trump up some beef, get us to talk about it and say, oh, Reese was wrong, or Caitlin was wrong, or Caitlin got what she deserved, blah, 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 depending on what side of the fence you are. Because, unfortunately, there are two sides of the fence to this. A lot of people saying that Reese went excessive. I say she would have said a little excessive. I thought she could have calmed that down. I think the first one, and she should have did one, maybe two, and would go with the ring thing. Left it at that, but I think she just following her around was just too much. But hats off to Caitlin Clark for handling it the way she did in the moment, and then the press conference after the game as well.
Jay, you want to answer your own question?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to see K Walk's thoughts because it's been all over the media. I kind of felt like when I first saw it, because I don't know, like me personally, I'm not an in-game, I was never like an in-game, in-your-face trash talking kind of person. So it's funny because before the game, I texted one of my sisters and asked her, you watching the game? And she was like, yeah, I'm rooting for LSU because Caitlin Clark has been getting on my nerves with all of her antics. So I do think some of that was building up in people, and I'm sure in the opposing team too, because she is a little bit in your face, like with all the three symbols, and she was going back and forth with the girl from Louisville, right? Mm-hmm. So all that kind of stuff. But I agree with you, K-Walk. When I first saw it, I thought, I didn't necessarily like the following around the court part of it. I don't mind the trash talk going back and forth, right, but I didn't love the following around the court part of it. But I will say this, the more I listened to Angel Reese talk, like after the game, and I've watched her do several interviews since then, and the more I kind of just have become like, okay, I see kind of where she was coming from. I wouldn't have done it, but at the end of the day, I feel like it's just two competitors going back and forth at each other. And to me, it's a lot to do about nothing. I don't think either one of the girls is real salty about it
at all.
I saw Caitlin Clark on ESPN this morning. She said nobody should be upset with Angel for what she did. It wasn't a big deal. So, I mean, those were her own words. So I feel like this is something that the media took and ran with. Whereas I don't know that, the people involved in it really thought it was that big of a deal.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly.
So yeah, I don't know. Like in the moment, just my personality, it's not something I would have done. But when I heard Angel Reese talk after the game and I listened to some of her interviews, she just became more and more likable to me because she was just coming from a real place, and I kind of could understand what she was trying to do. And here's the only other thing I'll say is I don't want to be too long-winded, but Caitlin Clark, like in that South Carolina game, like when she waved the girl off, like she wasn't guarding the girl and she waved her off, like that's disrespectful.
I've done that. I've done that. I've actually done that.
I get it. But to me, that's disrespectful. So I think other teams are watching that and they're like, man, you're going to disrespect somebody like that. So I think she opened herself up to
and she
something like
she
this
handled
happening.
it well, and that's why I said,
and like you said, she took no offense to it because I
Yes.
think she understood, hey, I do
Exactly.
this
I
same
gave it.
kind of stuff.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
again, much to do about nothing. I'm glad both girls said what they had to say. Doesn't feel like there's any beef there. To me now, it's the media that's running with this thing more so than anything. But Britt, we got to hear your thoughts on it.
Look, I'm not gonna say I don't think Angel Reese was overly excessive on anything. She's a competitor. She did what she wanted to do as a competitor, and I respect it. I love the trash talking. I love it. Like I said, Caitlin Clark has done similar stuff in games past, you know, talking back and forth with Carolina, like shut up, you down 15 or whatever she said. She didn't follow as much as she followed as Angel Reese may have followed her, but she has followed people and taunted them. Yo, it's all competition, it's all competitiveness. I don't want to get too deep because it's part of my rant later.
Okay.
So I'm not gonna say too much about it, but I love both players. I love Angel Reese. I said this 1,000 times before. I love her attitude. I love her confidence. I love her trash talking. You know, when she put you too little for me, I love all of it. That's what the game is. I don't care if you man, woman, whatever. It's all about trash talking. It's all about getting into your opponent's head and basically trying to get them to owning real estate in their head is what we call it as competitors, right? I own real estate in your head. That's basically what you're trying to do. So to get an advantage, to gain an advantage of some way, somehow. So it's all fun and games. They still respect each other. I'm pretty sure they still compliment each other's game. And I have to give credit to LSU because they called it. They said before the game, they said we don't like Caitlin Clark's antics, so we coming forward. And they backed it up. That's all I'm going to say. They backed it up. They said it. I love how Caitlin Clark handled it. She handled it just like a competitor. So respect to both young ladies. Respect to both of them.
Yeah, I agree. Because at the end of the day, I think people just have to get used to because if guys, honestly, I think if that was a men's game and that happened, I don't think people would really blink an eye at it.
To it.
I mean, we see that happen in the NBA every night. Somebody's doing something like that. But I think because it was the women's game, people made a little bit more out of it than it needed to be. And I think people just have to get used to it, you know?
Let's call a spade a spade. We're talking about a black player talking to trash to a white player, and the white player is arguably the best player. Not arguably, in my opinion, it's unarguable. She's the best player in the country. A lot of people are making a big deal. If she did that to someone on South Carolina meeting, Angel Reese did that to a player in South Carolina, and they met in that and they met in the national champion. Well, I couldn't have met in the national championship, but nonetheless, yeah. But if that was done to, if a black player did that to another black player, I guarantee you, with this conversation wouldn't have taken place. I guarantee you, and that's why I'm saying I'm not making it out to be black and white like other people are. It's just two competitors, and a lot of people don't like her antics because of the fact of the matter. I think she is white. You know, look at Larry Bird back in the day. No one said anything about Larry Bird. Was one of the best trash talkers out there.
Yeah,
one of the best trash talkers out there. But they didn't say anything about her talking trash. Him talking trash. But when Caitlin Clark does it, it's not a big deal. But when somebody does it back to Caitlin Clark, now it's a big deal. No matter what side of the fence you want, you either love it or you hate it.
Yeah.
Me personally, I thought it was a little excessive, but nonetheless, I get it. But at the same time, I just thought it was just a little too much for me. Okay, well.